Well, the political argument circles back to the economy today as the Treasurer Jim Chalmers talks up a slightly larger surplus than expected before the number drips in red ink next year. Let's bring in the Shadow Veterans Affairs Minister, Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Let's start with that breaking news this morning that the Treasurer just announced that he's basically giving the green light to ANZ, scooping up Suncorp. That'll make it Australia's third largest bank. You got a view on that this morning?
Yeah, I have. I used to work for QIDC, went through QIDC, which is Queensland Industry Development Corporation, when we went through the merger with Suncorp, Metway and QIDC to create Suncorp. Now, one of the big things about that is Suncorp had a very big presence in regional areas and so many small towns. The Suncorp branch in some instances was the only branch. And ANZ had a very bad habit of closing down regional branches. In fact, they sort of wanted to work online for regional people and have a big flash office in the capital city, even though a lot of their book, where they made their money, was in regional areas. So I think there has to be a responsibility to maintain a service. If you have a book, that is, if you have lent money out to an area, if you're making money out of a regional area, you must have a presence in that regional area. Otherwise, it's just another case of ripping regional people off so you can get yourself a surplus. I mean, let's face it, if there's any sense of a surplus that comes from money, export dollars from regional areas, coal, gas, beef, cotton, but we always find that, regional areas, where the branches, they shut down.
You got any concerns about what this does even more broadly for competition?
Yeah, lack of competition means you're going to get touched. That's what we see with the retail duopoly. The whole purpose, I'm accountant with a cap talking here, the whole purpose of trying to control the marketplace is you can force up prices without any retaliatory effects. And so the more we get less players in the marketplace, the more we can allow those players that remain to say things like, oh, we're pro the voice, and and if you're not carbon free, you can't bank with us. And that's excessive power. And that's actually happening right now. We've got some of these banks saying, if you're not carbon neutral, we're not going to lend to you. Well, BS. If we're not breaking the law, you have a responsibility, if our credit paper stacks up, to lend us the money. You can't just make statements that completely change the economic complexion on the whim of some person who's, basically landed their backside on a leather seat because they went to the right school.
There's a few different moving parts in when it comes to the Treasurer today. Barnaby, elsewhere, he's got this press conference, and Cameron Redden's watching over it for us as we speak, but he's going to try and use these surplus numbers today to try and shield the government from any responsibility over potential rate rises. As we know, it's now looking even more likely that there will be at least one, possibly even two, over the next couple of months. Do you think the government can get away with that?
No, they can't. And if you look at those figures that came through, one of the big drivers of inflation was power. I think it was 6.3% for the period analysed. And 6.3% is because of this crazy pathological belief that you can run Australia on a windmill. The intermittent power lobby are so powerful in this nation, they're managing to drive economic policy and make sure that, we don't have a rational view to how we produce power. And you watch, it's a cult. They'll get out there with almost a cult-like belief that we're going to run Australia on photovoltaic cells and windmills and, swindle factories and paint the fields a photovoltaic black and put transmission lines here and there. And of course, what's happening is the power price is going through the roof. The reliability is going through the floor. Your inflation rate's going up, and you watch out because your interest rates are going to follow it up, and therefore you're going to become poorer, even more poorer. Like you won't be able to afford your house payment. Great. Genius economics.
Well, you know what they're going to say, and they've already said it, is that inflation is lower now than what it was when they came to power.
Well, what people are going to say is, I've got this bill in the mail, it's got the power bill, I can't afford it. I went to buy my groceries and I can't afford them, and my house payment is coming up and I don't know how I'm going to pay that. So, Jim, you better have a better line, and I'll tell you what, here's a tip. Hey, Jim, keep Chris Bowen away from the camera, mate. Just don't want to see him.
Barnaby Joyce live for us from is it cold in Danglemar this morning? I see some. Yeah,
yep,
there you go.
Yes, she's a cracker. She's a cracker.
Talk to you later, Barnaby, and we'll be live to Canberra with more reaction on that story, that breaking news coming up this morning that, ANZ scooping up Suncorp. What does that mean for Suncorp Stadium naming rights now?